The Team House with your hosts, Jack Murphy and David Park.
This is episode 380 of the Team House. I'm Jack Murphy with our guest tonight, Drew Estell. Drew served in 5th Special Forces Group. The guys most of our viewers know, they fixate on the Middle East. That's their AOR. And Drew did a number of deployments all over that place. And today works on films, works on training with law enforcement, and a number of other things. So we're going to get into all of that with Drew here. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show finally. So I'm gonna hit you with the first question, which we pretty much ask everybody, is if you tell us a little bit about your origin story, like how did you grow up, where did you grow up, and like how did that sort of eventually take you towards military service?
I was waiting for that one. I've been a fan of your podcast for a while, man. I think you do some phenomenal interviews. You've got some phenomenal people on here, by the way. So it's really cool to get to sit here. So thank you. So yeah, man, I grew up in Texas, Houston, Texas. Outside of it, a place called Spring. And if anybody's from Houston, the way you know the area is by what high school you went to, right? They're like, oh, what high school? You know, so Klein Oak. I grew up in that area right there on the northwest side. But yeah, so it's kind of funny. My buddy, who is now also a Green Beret, like we knew each other from kindergarten, playing t-ball and all that. And we're in elementary school. We used to go out in the woods and play Green Berets with like my uncle's, field manual, like special forces, field manual, all that stuff, survival manuals and shit. And like all his old gear from Vietnam. And we'd go to the Army surplus store. And it's kind of cool. We both grew up to be Green Berets like we were when we were kids. So it was pretty neat, man. But yeah, he's a good dude. He played football at Texas A&M. And then he joined and I joined after my third freshman year of college, we can call it.
But yeah, sounds like a hell of a lot of fun, Drew.
I had a great time. Yeah, man, I grew up in Texas, grew up playing football. I also played lacrosse growing up. Just normal family, good family, all that, middle class, just your standard shit. And then, I went to a private school my senior year. I got a scholarship because that's just the way Texas high school football works. Otherwise, I probably wasn't going to college because I was an idiot. And then, it worked out really well. I went to a small D3 school called Marietta College my first year, and I played football, and I went to play lacrosse there too, but they dropped the program from like whatever, and I ended up leaving there, and I went to Texas State University. I used to call it Southwest Texas. Well known for being a party school, the biggest party school in the state of Texas. So as I got kicked out of there twice, I ended up going to community college. And then I got kicked out of a community college. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to join the Army. I think this is a good idea. So I
Drew,
joined the Army.
Are any of those stories about how you got kicked out still classified, or are you permitted to tell some of those?
Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, bro. Okay, so I was in a fraternity for a little bit. And, like, I joined a fraternity because my dad's like, hey, you're not playing. I went to play football at Texas State. But I couldn't, I had too many head injuries, and then they changed coaches. So I lost my transfer, like little offer and scholarship. And then, so I joined a fraternity. And my dad's like, yeah, it's a good idea. Fraternities are good. Not at this school, bud. You know what I'm saying? So I joined the fraternity that was literally all former military guys and former college athletes. Like my little dude, Graham or whatever, he was a captain in the Marine Corps. He was 28 years old, went to college to do like green to gold. And so then he went on and all that, dude, just military guys everywhere. And nobody knows how to party better than them. And so I got my nose broke. I got a fake tooth because I have a smart mouth. And so I got kicked out the first time. I got in big trouble. I thought some other dude stole like my pledge jersey, right? Like these shirts you wear. So I knock on his door. I'm like, yeah, man, like you got my jersey. And he's like, no, I don't. I didn't take your shit. And for some reason, I think I was still drunk when I did this. This is the next morning. And he was like, no. So I went in his room and tried to do all this. Well, he called his buddies and whatever, and they showed up. And this dude's the biggest dude I've seen in a long time. He set the record for like collegiate bench press, like powerlifting in the state of Texas. His name is BJ, which I thought was hilarious. And he did not. and he punched me pretty hard and basically turned my face inside out, and broke my tooth and everything. So that was a fun conversation with the dean. And then I had another conversation too, where he's like, "What are you gonna do with your life, you idiot?" I was like, "I think I'm gonna join the Army." He's like, "Son, that is a great idea. You need to go do that right now." But yeah, I worked on 6th Street in college, if you're familiar with it.
No.
All the bars.
Okay.
So it's like Broadway Street, in Nashville, or like Beale Street in Memphis. It's like the bar club street of Austin. And I actually worked for MTV.
Oh, really?
So yeah, dude. So like that TV show, The Real World.
Yeah.
Like what they do, and at the time it was a guy named Wes was on the show, Nehemiah. They were super cool. They were the dudes. I don't remember the chicks, but when they go to the different bars on 6th Street, what they do is they kind of work out a deal with the bar owners and the club owners. And somehow I got picked up at 20 years old to be like the security manager for them when they were at our bars. And the only reason was because Wes, he and I looked a lot alike. When like drunk girls would think I was Wes. And then I'd be like, "I'm not." And he's like, "Yeah, ladies, this is." I'm like, "Oh God, here we go." Right. So it was kind of neat, man. But yeah, I joined the Army. I had a great time before the Army, and I learned some valuable lessons, to say the least. So
what year was it that you enlisted?
2005, I enlisted, and I went to basic training in like January of 2006.
Okay. And what MOS?
11 X-ray. Which,
oh, okay. So you were an X-ray.
Yeah, I didn't know what an X-ray. I just thought it was infantry. I'm going to be an 11 Bravo, and I showed up, and they're like, "You're a mortarman." I was like, "The hell is a mortarman?" Like I don't know. And they were like, "You're gonna like, thing," and I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that. That's not what I signed up to do," because they wouldn't let me have the SF contract coming in because I had shoulder surgery from college football. So I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that." Or, I mean, they wouldn't let me have the SF contract. So like, all right, well, they convinced you, you'll just get it when you're in the Army. All right. So I was pretty pissed. I didn't know what a damn mortarman was. So I called my recruiter and was like, "You son of a," just cussing him out. Don't ever get Joe Flores. Phenomenal dude. I think he's a sergeant major in recruiting. He might have retired, but great dude, man. And he was like, "Calm down. You're fine. You can still go SF," So I ended up, it worked out fine, but I was pretty pissed off. I was like, "You lied to me, you mother effer," like going off. Like I didn't know what a mortarman was. I just know I'm going to carry heavy shit, and I'm not going to be like the other infantry guys.
Yeah. Well, so. And to explain to some of the young folks out there, within the infantry, 11 Bravo, and every special forces guy has at least their secondary MOS is infantry. 11 Bravo split into, riflemen and mortarmen. And that's what Drew's talking about. So I imagine that training, though, must have really come in handy down the line for you.
It did, because I ended up being an 18 Bravo. So I was like, "Oh, well, God has a plan. That makes sense." And thank you. I know what to do with the little sticks and the, turning thing and the whiz
wheels and the
all that
the
crap.
big fire direction center board that confuses the hell out of me. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I figured it out. I had a little leg up on the other guys. So that helped. That definitely helped. So, yeah.
So 2006, you go through basic training and then SFAS, the Q course, all of that. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was good, man. You meet so many different people, right? But when I actually got into SF, I was supposed to go to Kelly Hill or something like that. I was supposed to stay on Fort Benning in 3rd ID, right? And I was going to be in 11 Charlie there, but I called the SF recruiter like every chance I got during AIT, like the final however many weeks, and just left messages because we were always at the mortar square. So when he'd come by, he didn't, I never got to see him. And so I would just call him nonstop and leave him messages like, "Oh, excuse me, Master Sergeant, my name's Private Estelle, can I please be SF?" And I called, and it was like, he's supposed to be gone for the day. He goes, "I just hear Sergeant so-and-so." And I'm like, "Hi, Master Sergeant. My name's so-and-so." He just goes, "God dang it, are you that little idiot that keeps calling me every day?" I'm like, "That's me, So he's like, "If you can get here in 20 minutes, man, I'll give you an SF contract." I was like, "Oh, shit. Okay." So I went over like one of the drill sergeants, who is this, big old black dude from the city, gold teeth and shit. And I was like, "Oh, drill sergeant." And I just lied to him. I was like, "So-and-so said you got to take me down there right now." He was like, "What?" He's like, yeah. Master Sergeant, I'm listening, not Lake. I can't remember his name for the life of me. And he goes, he said, you by name got to take me down there. He's like, he said my name? I was like, yeah. He goes, oh, shit. Oh, okay. Well, get your ass in the truck. So he drove me down, you know. He's like, you need me to go in? I'm like, nah, we're good. He said, just drop me off. But thank you very much. I'll let him know. He's like, yeah, you tell him. Tell him. I was like, yep, absolutely. You know, so I got my ride down there. And I got my contract. It was really interesting because, like, I guess one of his friends was in town. Again, like, massive dude, flame tattoos up his forearm, wearing a Harley Davidson shirt, and they were third group guys. And he just sat me, and he's like, "You really want to join SF?" And I'm like, "Yes, please, you know, Master Sergeant." And of course, this other guy that's his buddy is just making fun of me the whole time. I'm like, okay, this seems cool. So
I know exactly what you're talking about. That the little one-story SF recruiting station on Fort Benning.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember when I went in there, because I was with 375 at the time, and I went in there and said, "Hey, I'd like to do SF. I want to go to SFAS." And I just remember, like, well, a couple things. One of them was, he said, "What MOSs do you want?" And I said, "Well, I'm pretty open-minded." And then he asked me what my GT score was, and I told him. And he said, "Well, let me narrow your mind a little bit for you. You could be an 18 Bravo." And then the second thing was when I walked out of there, just a smile on that guy's face. He was like, he knew it. He's like, "I got another one."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. What year was that?
That must have been 2000. That was probably 2006 because I graduated the course in 2007. Oh, so I went to SFAS the last class of 2005. So it would have been 05 that I went in there.
Okay. Gotcha. Nice, dude. Yeah, I got, it's funny because I started out and I was an 18. I remember, you get your little sheet and you go through selection and you're like, I did it, and you go to the room, you know what I'm saying? So it's funny, man. You know that guy Leibelsberger that blew himself up in the Tesla?
Yes.
He and I went to selection together, and I knew him, and we went to the Q course together. So, like, it's just not a random fact for you, but when you, what was it? Yeah, you go through and they give you your MOSs and everything. It was like, I remember taking the D lab and then being like, "Are you retarded?" I was like, "I think so, yes." There's a high chance of this. And they were like, "Okay." Well, then I guess they looked at my GT score and we got our MOSs and they're like, "You're going to be an 18 Delta." I was like, "I think you're fucking wrong. There's no way I'm going to be an 18 Delta." They're like, "And Arabic." And I was like, "No, thank you." So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to die. Mentally, my brain's going to explode trying to do this, but we'll figure it out. So I started out as an 18 Delta. And I remember the whole time in the Delta course, it was like me and like 3 former Marines. And they'd always call us the Bravos. They'd be like, "Hey, future Bravos, you're up, for like TCCC and all this other crap, and surgical skills." And they'd be like, "Why do you call us future Bravos?" Like, "Because you idiots are all going to fail. And we're all going to put you in the Bravo course because you are retarded." And we're like, "Oh, okay, cool. Sounds good, And sure enough, I think 3 out of 4 of us ended up failing and becoming Bravos. But
if you're in the market for a new mattress, you've probably seen all the brands out there vying for your attention. Big names, splashy ads, all promising the same thing. But here's the only brand that does it right. It's GhostBed. GhostBed was created and is still run by manufacturing experts with more than 20 years of mattress making experience. They know the craft and they know how to build a bed that actually lasts. So how do they offer premium mattresses for up to 50% off less than the competition? It's not hype, it's smart logistics. As a family-owned company, that means there's no board of investors to answer to. It's just folks working hard, selling mattresses. These are the true manufacturing pros, and the result is an exceptional cooling and comfort at a price that won't keep you up at night. Every GhostBed mattress includes proven cooling materials backed by a 20 to 25 year warranty. You also get a 101 night sleep trial with free returns if the mattress doesn't work for you, and fast free shipping. Most orders arrive in 2 to 5 days. Right now, as a Team House listener, you can get 25% off site-wide for a limited time. You can just go to ghostbed.com/house and use the promo code HOUSE at checkout. That's ghostbed.com/house, promo code HOUSE. Upgrade your sleep with GhostBed, the makers of the coolest beds in the world. Some exclusions apply. See site for details. I want to thank GhostBed so much for continuously supporting us. It's been going on a year almost. So I really appreciate that. I hope you guys, if you're in the market for mattresses or pillows or bedding, check out GhostBed. You can go to ghostbed.com/house and get 25% off right now. Love you and love GhostBed. Thanks, guys.
But again, it was good. God has a plan, and I did a lot of medical stuff overseas, man, and I think that really prepared me really well. And my team was a great team, so got through the key course, did all that, and called the Long Bravo. Right, I was so happy to be an 18 Bravo, not a Delta. However, I used a ton of medical, especially on the first and second trip to Iraq. It was a lot. So
how much of the Delta course do you think you did? Like 8 weeks or something like that?
There's A&P Patho, which is like the first 6 weeks. And then there's, is it surgical skills? I think is right after that. I got through surgical skills. Yeah, something like with the hands-on, doing crikes, chest tubes, all that. I was great at that, but you couldn't get me to pass a written test. Like this pisses me off, right? Because have you ever seen the written test in the Delta course?
No, I haven't.
Okay. It's like, here's a question, right? And they give you like a scenario, go, what's the best answer? A only, A and C, B and D, B, D, E, or E all of it, or like F all of the above. And you're like, what? Like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, you're right. Your answer was right. But this other answer was a little bit more right. And you're like, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. So like, I was not a Delta, obviously. So, yeah.
That's awesome. But I mean, yeah, those skills came in handy later, the training that you did go through. That's cool. So get the fifth group. Do you go right to an ODA, or do you have to spend some time on the B team first, or how's it work?
No, I was really lucky. I went right to an ODA. I went to 584, and then it was 5324. Now it's 584 again because numbers are hard, evidently. So they changed it again, like fucking commanders and their infinite wisdom, and OER bullets. But they did that. I went to that team. So 3rd Battalion, and I showed up like, every new guy does. Like, the only thing I can do is pass the eyeball test. I obviously don't know anything, so I'm going to show up in shape. And whatever they throw at me, I'm gonna be able to do. Have a great attitude, you know what I'm saying? Right mindset and do that. And ended up going to 2-4, the Halo team, or 8-4. And it was good. And I remember a guy named John Knipe, who ended up working for Magpul later. He was on the B team. He's like, what team are you going to? I was like, Sergeant Major said 2-4 or 8-4. And he was mad. He was like, you're going to 8. He goes, that's the best team in the battalion. Guys worked so hard to get on that team, all this stuff. And I was like, oh shit. All right. I got a lot to work on. I got to really, do the right thing here. And I got to, step up. And I did. I had a really great team, very experienced team. There were 3 of us new guys that all got there pretty much within like a month of each other. And yeah, the rest of the team was really experienced. We lost a guy the trip before, Jason. So he was killed up there in Jalula Asadia the trip before, Jason Brown. And then, so we were deployed in like 2 months by the time I got there. So I got there just enough time to do some ranges. We did PMT at Fort Knox, and then we were off. And it was kind of like the attitude of the team was, hey, get ready, because we're going right back there, and we're going to fuck some people up. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, okay, all right, this is what we joined.
Where did you get deployed?
Jalula Asadia.
Okay. So back to the same place for them.
Yep, back at the exact same. They just kept going to that team house. You know what I mean? It would be us and then another team, and then us, and then it was like a first group team, and then us, and then so it was a fifth group team. So like we were there every other time, and they'd have another team kind of fill in between. Yeah. So that was kind of our place. So they call it Firebase Brown.
What was the general like friendly enemy situation at that base? Because I don't think I've ever been in that area.
It was a really interesting, because we're right south of Kanakin and very near the Kurd Arab line. So the situation was different. We absolutely had a lot of, you had your, who the hell was it? I'm getting all confused from Afghanistan and everybody else, but was it JRTN was big up there. We had a lot of Iranian influence too. Jam. And we had your typical like, Al-Qaeda's or whatever the hell you want to call it, but it was very interesting because a lot of what we did, we had to work with the Kurds and we had to work with the Arabs. So, and I don't know if you're familiar, they don't like each other. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, hell, we go on clearing ops with them with Arabs and Kurds on the second deployment there. And it was like, hey guys, here's what we're doing. Brief them, get ready, going out. We'd pull into the city and we're like, turn around, look back down the road. And they both have their guns pointed at each other on the trucks. And we're like, oh, God dang it. Like, point your guns out, not at each other. And they're like, no, them first. Like, oh, God dang it, you fucking children. So but it was cool, man. We did some hits, got out the door, got a few people. There was a lot of infiltration into the police forces where we were at and the military. And usually I feel like with other guys, they would say, hey, the police are really where you see a lot of that. And yeah, we did. We'd go after targets, like this one dude, Anwar Mohammed Yusuf or whatever the hell, went after him. Well, I mean, he was a police officer that, was doing stuff, and we went and got his ass. And then the military, though, had a lot of stuff too with the IA. And they were actually planting IEDs on the road into our base, which we shared with them on the bigger base, Fob Cobra. And so they'd be putting out IEDs, and no shit, dude. We'd go do like a sniper mission, set up the jammers, take over a little area, and like just lay in sniper overwatch. And we'd watch these guys sneaking out there, laying IEDs. Like, where'd that dude come from? It's like, dude, he came from base. I was like, oh shit, So, yeah, man. And they always trying to blow us up, and they end up blowing each other up. And we're like, dude, you're not even hitting us. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just killing your buddies. So
I mean, I imagine that like you guys had to be cleared to snipe the IED teams, but then there is like inevitably there's going to be fallout from that if they're military people on a base right next to you.
Yeah, and yes, and so we had to let them know what we were doing, which we didn't necessarily want to do. Right, we had to let the command know, and as we let the command know, sorry, am I not close enough to this thing?
We got it.
As we let the command know, we went out one time to do it. So we took over a little checkpoint. We got out there, did it. And then the IA came out to do their own little ambush. And I don't know if you ever watched, the Iraqi army under nods and thermals sitting in an ambush line. It's hilarious, to say the least. But we were like, well, we're not getting shit done tonight. We're not going to shoot nobody. You know what I mean? So, and then we actually did have some movement off to one side. We saw some dudes and we're like, ooh, here it comes. Well, then they obviously spotted the Iraqi army, and we were like, dude, because they're just smoking cigarettes and performing sexual favors on each other. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, oh, great. We're just watching that under nods. It's like, oh, that's cool. Like, bleh. So
another day in the life. They don't teach you that part in the Q course, do they?
No, they don't. They don't teach you that they have one dude per company named Hamza, and they're like, what does Hamza mean? Hamza, like, is a number. It's a little circle. Stands for a butthole, and that's their dude. And you're like, oh, okay, I got it. Like, fuck. They don't teach any of that in the Q course.
And so as that deployment went on, you guys rolled up some bad guys and dealing with IEDs. I mean, how did things kind of progress as you got deeper into that deployment?
So the first deployment, I think it was pretty standard. I think for me as a new guy, I was just trying to learn as much as I could. I was the junior Bravo. I had a senior and just trying to pick up as much as I could from him. So I was learning, base defense and operations and convoy ops and, trying to stay on top of it as best I could. So for me, it was just a really good learning experience. Yeah, we went after some people, but there was always, for everybody we went after, they want warrants. And it became like we're a SWAT team more than anything else. And now we got to deal with the Iraqi judicial system, which is not exactly stellar, you know what I mean, and corrupt as hell. So it's like they wouldn't even like really fight back a lot of times because they just knew they'd be like, hey, what's up? I'll be out tomorrow. Like, who cares? And it was like, well, that sucks. It's like, and the point I was like, can we just shoot him? And they're like, no, you can just shoot him. It's like, yeah, but can we like shoot a guy? Can we just shoot the guy? They're like, no, he's not armed. You have to actually take him in. We're like, oh, this is stupid. So we did all that. But that was frustrating. That really was. But however, it was good experience. We did some clearing ops. We did get some dudes, and we did get some, we found out some very interesting networks and things that were going on that opened up to see some of the connections, especially. The one thing that we kind of couldn't cross that line was a lot of the Iranian stuff going on, which I know you're very familiar with. But one thing that was interesting was on that trip, and then the second trip was Operation New Dawn, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And what they would do is they'd have these like, those buses, like Greyhound buses.
Mm-hmm.
So they would actually black out all the windows or put little things up where you think there's people in there, but inside it's just a giant SIGINT bus. And like they were driving those things around, and we were like, I remember our head human guy was telling us about it, and our Fox, who was going over all that, and was like, wait a second, what? Like, yeah, they're just hacking everything we have and just listening whatever they can. You see the same bus parked out here, then sure enough, the Iraqis pulled over, like, oh crap, they saw us going, they're like, oh, let that go, because they don't want anything to do with that. And then so it's like we know the Iranians are driving SIGINT buses around us, and we know all this other stuff's going on. Like, and you go into a meeting, and then the Iranians they'd have their agents there going to talk to somebody right after you, and just all kinds of crap, man. It was very interesting seeing that. I think that was my first introduction into, I don't know, maybe the politics of it, or a larger scale strategic, kind of looking stuff, instead of just what you see in front of you. So.
And the ROE at that time prevented you guys from really actioning the Iranian targets.
Yeah, because when we'd send that up, it was always, hey, don't mess with that. That's not for us. And we're like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
so,
that worked out well.
Yeah. So I was like, well, can we just like put an IED out, because these guys are good at blowing themselves up. Maybe just put one in front of this bus and call it a day. You know what I mean? So, but no, there's nothing. So.
I like your thinking, Drew. Good initiative. But they shut you down. That sucks.
Yeah.
So afterwards, you get redeployed back home, back to Fort Campbell, and now you're going through the whole training cycle with your team.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine they're sending you to MFF and all that stuff too.
Yeah. So went to MFF, went to SODIC at 5th Group. And as you know, 5th Group, my personal opinion, like I know some other groups, they do great stuff. I think 5th Group really with our SODIC and SFAS, they run a phenomenal course. Like I've seen some of the other courses out there and talked to people, and it's like, I feel that 5th Group does a really good job with stuff like that. So I went to SODIC like a week after I got back, SODIC 2 at Campbell. Did that. That was good. Went to MFF. As we got a new captain, me and we sent 4 guys to Halo School at the same time. And we weren't supposed to get all of us in, but like one of our old teammates, what was his damn name? Al, he was at the Halo committee as an instructor, and he was like, just send him, dude, I'll get him in. And sure enough, he walked by some dude and was like, up, up, up. He goes, oh, you're fat, get out. And then he was like, Drew, you're in. I was like, yeah, dude, and then some guy didn't have something, and he was like, all right, out of here, shitbag, and then we all got in the course, which was super cool. But we had our new captain, phenomenal officer, phenomenal team leader. He ended up being battalion commander later on. Did really good stuff. He's a company commander and battalion commander. A guy I call a friend, have a lot of respect for. His name's Bill Heffron. He's out now. Yeah, I remember we go to Halo School, and our team sergeant was old school team sergeant and redneck as hell. And he's like, hey, man, you break that captain in right. We were like, okay, sounds good, dude. So captain bought drinks. We'd go out and hang out and do stuff, and it was a great time, man. We got real close, the 4 of us. So 3 new guys and our new captain. So
that's cool. Yeah, you're right. That's very rare for almost half a team to go to the school at the same time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we were very fortunate to be able to do that. So, but yeah, man, did that. I had some other stuff in there. And then not too long after that, we went back again. So we went right back to the same place, and we had our second deployment there. Mm-hmm. Which I kind of already touched on, was different because it's New Dawn. It's supposed to be the drawdown. And we're doing less. We're letting them take the lead. So it was a lot more advisory missions. When we did go out, it wasn't a whole lot, but we did get out the door some. Not as much as we liked, but you probably never get out the door as much as you want to in any job. So it was good. That was much more seeing the effect of how you train your guys and then going out with them, you know what I mean? And seeing how that works. Like, yes, they're different. We're not working with ISOF, Iraqi Special Operations. We're working with Iraqi Army. And you just, set your expectations and, can I get them to do this? Did they complete the mission? Did they go out the door? Did they do what we told them to do? Well, they did. And that was good. You know what I mean? I ate a charge on that one pretty good. On that deployment, I got knocked out pretty good, but it was fun. It was a good time.
You got too close to the breach?
Well, I didn't know the breach was going off because my junior Bravo didn't fucking say shit. So he got so excited we pulled up to this house, and outside the courtyard, and I'm in the truck and I'm the gunner and I'm covering the second story as they, line up with the dudes. And so I remember two of our guys are standing there and they're going to breach the gate. So I'm covering, the 50 cal and the saw and night vision. I'm like, okay, we're good. I'm like, what's going on, man? Like, what's taking so long? So I look down and all I see is them stacked up, and I see Logan like this, and he goes, and I see that quarter turn, and I was like, oh, I mean, we're like, I'm not even 10, 15 yards from this thing. I'm right in front of the gate just because of how the street was and everything else. And I was like, oh crap. So I started to go down right as the breach went off. And he's a Bravo. And when a Bravo makes a charge, they do their math as P for plenty. And I'm pretty sure he just stuck a whole,
block.
Block, C4 on there. When it breached and it went off, and I just remember going boom, and my head whacked off the turret, and the gun flipped and came down and hit me in the face. My nods were all messed up, and I was out. And I just remember hearing that, and I kind of oh crap. So I got back up, and I just remember it didn't just pop the gate open. It took the gate and blew it completely out of the courtyard, walls, and it blew it all the way to the house. And then it blew the glass out of the house, off all the windows. And so there was nothing to clear. All these Iraqis are just coming out with their hands up, coughing, we're sorry. And the Iraqi army's coughing, and they're just like, oh, it's okay. Please come over here. Have a seat. Let me get you some water. And it was like a casualty event at that point. And I'm just, they're like, hey, Drew, you okay? And I'm like, yellow 7. They're like, what the fuck are you saying? I don't know. I was out. But then our team star was pissed because he didn't call breach, so he thought an IED went off, and we were all messed up. And I just remember being like, I was just so excited to breach a gate. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have control.
Yeah, pretty much. But he said all that in his head, not out loud on the radios. So thanks a lot, jerk. So.
And I think you mentioned that you got to use some of your medical training on these first couple deployments. I mean, was it mostly on you or on Hamza, or how did that work out?
So we had a lot of guys on our team we had several guys that started out in the 18 Delta course, and we had 2 medics. At one point we had lost 2 of our medics, so I became the medic on the team and I carried the med bag. And by lost, I mean they had to go back to this base to cover something with finance, and something popped up. So I filled in for them. But a lot of times it was just medical stuff. They'd get blown up and they'd call us and we'd rush over there, and do what we could. Usually they're putting out IEDs on each other or whatever. But so, I mean, with that, for instance, one time we had a guy who's pretty messed up. So I had to amputate his leg. And I remember the CF medics were there, the conventional dudes. He was from a MIT team. And, he was a little overwhelmed, and he's like, hey guys, here's what we got to do. And it took about 10 seconds. And I remember one of our medics was like, get out of the way. We're in charge. And I think he was very appreciative of that. And so he was like, our 218 Deltas are working up top, and they're criking this dude. He's trying to get an IV, the conventional force medic. And I was amputating the leg. Right. And so I cut off his leg, set it down. And this guy couldn't get his stick get the IV started because he was, I think this is new for him, it's probably, a little bit less experienced dude. And, that's understandable, especially when you're having to hold his arm down because he's still alive, kicking, and we're cracking this dude, right? So he's fighting the whole time. So finally I had to grab it, and I just stuck him real quick, did it, flash, and we're up. And that guy was just like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm not an 18 Delta, dude. I'm just the Bravo. I'm the gun guy. And he was just mind blown, But I think that's a testament too, is just, our team was very, very good at training each other up, right? And for example, I hate radios. I don't want a damn thing to do with a radio. I don't want to fill the radio. I don't like radios. I think they're stupid, right? Very, very important part of the job though. And if I was ever like, hey, Echo, how do I get this? He'd be like, you're gonna do this. You will learn. And I'd be like a child, just I don't want to. And then I'd do it, So we were very good about teaching each other how to do stuff. You had to be very, very self-sufficient. And that's something I was very grateful for our team sergeants on that team between Lee and Doug, that they really made sure of that. And the teammates too, So everybody had to do their own radios. Everybody could do medical. Everybody knew how to build a charge, right? I mean, everybody could, headspace and time the 50 cals. And when the, grenade launcher went down, we knew Mark 47s went down. You knew how to fix it and get it back up. I mean, there was nothing. Like, you don't get to call somebody else.
So I want to take a minute today to tell you guys about the Perfect Jean. I've been wearing them for a few weeks now and really enjoy them, and I just want to share it with our audience. Sometimes jeans have this problem where, you guys all have seen these skinny jeans that they like crush your balls and, it's just not comfortable to wear. Or the other way around, jeans are like too baggy. You have this sort of like diaper in your ass area, it looks like. So there are these problems that, different fits of different types of jeans have. And the Perfect Jean strives to fix that. Both the fit, but also the mobility, the maneuverability. It has a stretchy fabric. Like they say it's like yoga ready, but I would say it's athletics ready. Moving furniture, doing things around the house. You're not gonna have that like super tight, like constricted fit that you feel like you're not gonna be able to move around in. And there are over 400,000 people out there wearing these jeans at this point, so not all of them can be wrong. I hope you guys will go and check them out. So a few scenarios where you can wear these jeans and where they really come together. Everything from, doing yard work or doing things around your house. If you have to move furniture around or you have to do handiwork, they're perfectly comfortable. But you can wear them, getting your man spread on the subway, if that's your thing. So the Perfect Jean is great for all kinds of different environments, whether it's doing handiwork around the house or on the job or athletics. And we really hope you guys will go and check them out. For a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc or Google The Perfect Jean and use the code HOUSE15 for 15% off. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with promo code HOUSE15. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. So fuck your khakis and get the Perfect Jean.
So it was very, very good about that on our team.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. Yeah, there's only 12 of you. You're not getting anyone else.
Yeah, I think we only ever had on that team maybe 10 or 11. We were never full with 12 that I can think of. Maybe at one time, but one time we only had 8 guys on the team when we went to Afghanistan.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And so after that, rotating back home, and what was kind of like the next sequence of events? Getting jocked up to go again, I imagine.
Yeah, we did I had a J sit in there to Jordan.
Cool.
Was that after the second deployment? That was in 2010. I went to Jordan, I think. That was a phenomenal time. Like, I really, really appreciated going to Jordan and doing that J set. We worked with a company of their special forces guys, and it was Amir Hashim. So the king's youngest brother, Prince Hashim, Amir Hashim. Amir stands for Prince. It was his company, so we got to work with him very closely. And he was a phenomenal guy. And he had 2 ODAs that we were working with. One that was like younger guys and less experienced. One that was older guys and more experienced. And it was really cool seeing how they did stuff. And just, they're Jordanians. They're Jordanian special forces. They don't do things the way we do. They don't have the resources. They don't have this and that. However, we learned a lot from them. And it was really great getting to work with them. And then on top of that, you're in Jordan, dude. We went and saw Petra. We saw Bethany beyond Jordan. We went down to the Dead Sea. Like, we really, our team sergeant Doug at the time was and our captain Bill, when he took over at that time, was real big on like, these might be the only times you ever get to do this. We're not just going to be going and getting drunk at some Russian hooker bar. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
We're going down and we're going to go see sights. Like, you're going to learn some shit. Like, this is stuff that 10 years from now, you're really going to appreciate. And they were absolutely right. Like, it was phenomenal. And we did a lot of stuff together. So I loved that trip. We stayed at Kasadik, if you've heard of that. That's where they do like...
Yeah, it's a huge facility.
Yeah, it was like brand new. They just built the barracks. So we stayed there during the week, and then we stayed at a ridiculously nice hotel in downtown Amman on the weekends. I don't know how we got that approved, but there's always a warrant somewhere. You know what I mean? He knows how to do that crap. But yeah, man, it was a really good experience. And I had a lot of fun there. And then... Let's see, we did 2 trips to Iraq. I did a J set, I think, in 2010, which was think it was between the first and second trip. Shit, I can't remember. Yeah,
It's
it was
okay.
between the first and second trip because I met my wife when I was in Halo school on the weekend out in San Diego. So yeah, man.
Out at the Trident bar,
Absolutely not. Fuck no.
the one that what is it Miller owns?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, Dev Group guy owns the Trident bar out there.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone
no,
met their wife at Trident. What's up, Drew?
No. Oh, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, no, we met on Halloween of all things. So she was a very respectable lady, and I didn't know what that meant. I was like, "What do you mean? We're not like, you know?" She's like, "No, dumbass." Like, no. So I had to keep, calling her everything, and it worked out. We ended up getting married, man. So
That's great.
But yeah, that happened between the first and second trip was Jordan. And then after the second trip, we went to Afghanistan. There was some other stuff in there. There was some J sets. I missed one because I went off to a school. I went to Afghanistan in 2012, which was a really good trip for me because I was the Fox on that trip.
Okay.
So
do you want to tell the listeners what the Fox is on the team?
Yeah, so the Fox on the team is your intel sergeant, right? And if you look at kind of like the hierarchy on the team, you have your captain, and then sometimes you have a warrant officer, whatever that means, and then you have your team sergeant, right? And so below that is your Fox, and it's generally a more experienced guy that's been on the team before, and it is a position where not on every team, but for a lot of teams, if you're the Fox, you're going to be the team sergeant next, right? I was an E6 and I was the Fox. So the reason I is because ours had a terrible taste in women and he had a shitty personal life and she stole all his shit and sold it. And so like he couldn't go. And I think she was in jail or something. I don't know, dude. We're like, bro.
It happens.
So he's like, I can't go on the trip. So yeah. But
where in Afghanistan did you guys go?
Kunduz. So
okay. So, I mean, that place got very hot at one point.
It did, and we were the first team to be in Archie and Imam Sahib. So we had a team before us. They built the team house, and they situated themselves right in between these two districts called Archie and Imam Sahib. Archie was to the east, and Imam Sahib was to the west. Just north of that was the border, right? So for us, the biggest thing going in, it was a black hole, and actually, a lot of people were trying to tell us, "Oh, this is how it is up there," and I remember thinking, no, it's not, because you don't fucking know, dude. Like, nobody knows anything what's going on. This team that's been up there has been very concerned about building the base out, and they've only been in Imam Sahib. They haven't even gone over to Archie yet, right? So we're going to be the team that pushes to Archie and then potentially from there, right? And then kind of towards Badakhshan province, I think it is, up that way. So for us, there was a lot of unknowns. And right before we got there, there was like a YouTube video of them like stoning a chick. There was like, reports in Archie, the Taliban killed all the police and then stole their vehicles and had a parade down the main road and like made everybody come out. And if you didn't, they cut their heads off. And I was like, okay, cool. So this is going to be a good time, So that was very interesting though, being the Fox. I was not a school-trained Fox by any means. I got given the Fox job, I think, 3 weeks to 4 weeks before we deployed and had to brief the commander. I got that on a Friday and had to brief the group commander on Monday or like Tuesday. So that was unique. But yeah, man, it was interesting figuring out the area and then trying to get through everything. And kind of what we found was this is kind of a financial hub.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean, they would harvest everything and then they'd smuggle up through Tajikistan, I think it was right there. And
Uzbekistan and Tajikistan.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. And they would smuggle through there. So our goal was to help disrupt some of those routes, identify the money, and then try and negate that or, cross that out and create a block for it. But when you don't have any information, you have to do a lot of fact finding when you get there. So we just had our ink blot strategy. We're going to start here. We're going to go visit this. We're going to get to know this tribe and these people, and like these guys or whatever their names were and how they're all related, whatever. And then we're going to go down here to this part, right? And there was a lot of Taliban influence, right? But there's a lot of other stuff too. Who's the Uzbek guy that like was also the terrorist organization working in there. It was the names.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, they were fairly dangerous, as I recall.
Yeah, they were kind of like the big hitters, smaller organization,
Yeah.
serious stuff. We had a lot of them in the area too, so that was interesting. And we got in some firefights. We got some dudes. We had some suicide bombers at the gate. Things like that. So it was a very formative time, and I think mainly because my team sergeant Doug at the time, someone I respect almost more than anybody I've ever met, phenomenal guy, very reserved, kind of soft-spoken dude, but very squared away. And he was the fox before me, and he picked me to be the fox. And he's like, "Hey man, I know you're not going to do it the exact same way I did, but I hope it set a good example. The thing is, I want you to do what feels right, and basically, do your best." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "You're going to mess up. You're going to get things wrong. But just remember, as the fox, your goal is to make sure when this team leaves this base, every time we leave, they're 100% prepared for everything coming at them. Because if you miss anything, that could be someone, that could be their life or injury for the rest of their lives." And I was like, "Okay, no pressure. Thanks." So, but that was
Drew.
really good.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the group I think is Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, IMU.
No,
There was
maybe
another one?
there was somebody else. It was like something network, maybe. Was it Haqqani Network?
Haqqani was
No.
in Pakistan. That was south.
Yeah, God, what was the name of that? Maybe that is it. Man,
Yeah.
I honestly, if you said it, I probably wouldn't remember now because it's been so
It's
long.
okay.
I've had too
I'm
many
sorry to
TV
interrupt.
houses.
Go.
No, you're good. Yeah, but yeah, Doug, I remember him saying that, and I always took that to like, okay, my goal is not just sit here and bore you with data and tell you where everything's at. Is to give you obviously your most likely, our most dangerous, and then make sure we're all prepared as we go out, right? So it was good, man. It was very good, very very good experience, and I feel like that's the trip where, for me personally, I grew a lot. I was still just a staff sergeant, so it was. Sorry, am I getting all weird feedback?
I think we got you okay.
Okay, it's just my computer then. So that was it was really good for me.
And so it sounds like it was, or it became primarily like a counter narco mission.
Kind of. We didn't encounter the drugs where we were at per se. It was all again, the financial aspect of it. But we also had a lot of pockets of IED makers. And there was this one guy, we called it, his name was like Dr. Z or something. He was and we were very unsure about him. And I remember, the B team and one of the sergeant majors being like, "I don't worry about that guy. He's probably just a little T Taliban." I was like, "No, man, I don't know that's the case. The things aren't lining up that says he's that." And he's very hard to pinpoint. So we know he travels from here. He goes to some of the other provinces. He does this. And he also spends time in the South. And if he was just little T Taliban, he would. So the listeners, by little T, think of that as like a gang member, right? Like a guy who has nothing else to do. So hey, it's something to do. I'll join up with these dudes, whatever, right? They're not necessarily true believers. They might just be bored more than anything else, or adventure seekers, kind of like a gang member. And then your big T Taliban, how we looked at it was, these are your true believers, right? This is a real mission for them, and this is a purpose. So much more formal, okay? And from what I'd seen, it kind of pushed him into that big T, kind of classification, and we really wanted to stay on him. And I remember just being real dismissive about it. "Nope, that's not it. Nope, it's fine, whatever." And I gave a lot of pushback on that. Well, I kind of find out, I was right. As we went on, he was a very big player in the north for the Taliban, right? And then also, everything that was associated with the Taliban and the other people too. He had a lot of the money. He also organized the different IED cells. They were making the command wire and remote initiated IEDs, as well as pressure plate IEDs. And so that trip, we had multiple IEDs that I found out that we did our SIGINT back, and talk to people, and they're like, "Hey man, listen to this." And it was the ICOMs chatter and the dudes talking from all the numbers we give them. And it was literally being like, "Hey, I can see these guys right now. Okay, go ahead, do it." And it's like, it's not working. The IED's not working. They're like, "How is it not working?" They're standing right on top of it. And it's like, they're like, "Oh, it's this truck, the second truck, or the third truck in the convoy." Because we got when something got we had to stop, we got out and did some stuff. We were parked on top of an IED, and it never went off. And the thing is, it's like, "Oh, well, jammers, right?" this was a command wire ID. It wasn't a jammer.
Wow.
So we couldn't figure out why their stuff wasn't working. That happened 7 times that we found out we were on top or drove over an ID and it didn't go off. So I think we encountered IEDs at one point in the trip about every 3 days. You know what I mean? And we were very lucky. We spotted them. We got out. We set out, did all of our stuff, did our sweeps. A lot of times it was our Charlie, Aaron. Aaron is a super interesting guy, right? Like he was a Marine and then he was a cowboy before that, like an actual cowboy, like Yellowstone. He like drove cattle like in Montana and Kansas. And then he is out now. Now he's a smoke jumper in like Montana, right? Like you're like, what? He raises horses, right? He's the best dad ever. Like him and his wife are just phenomenal parents too. Like incredible. You're like, what? How do they make people like you? But he and I would actually go up and get the IEDs and be like, like old school, like
with the probe,
the stick and the knife, kind of deal. But yeah, man, it was good. We had a lot of IEDs, man, my computer just froze on like the worst picture ever, it looks like.
We got you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you fine.
Back now?
Yeah. We never lost you.
Yeah, I saw the computer freeze like the worst moment in time. But yeah, man, it was really good. He was a phenomenal guy, and we'd go clear these IEDs and everything and all that. We got a few firefights on that trip, pretty good. We had a suicide bomber, I remember, came to our gate, as we're trying to get in our guys that we're training up to handle some of this. I guess something happened. We heard it outside and we saw this dude running, and our ALP, Afghani local police, ALP commander, ended up shooting at this dude, and he's like running away. So I just grabbed my sniper rifle and ran up in the towers. And I think I got maybe the record for like the shortest sniper kill in Afghanistan. So, which is funny. I think it was like 20 yards away. I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, that's my big sniper claim to fame. But anything over 30 yards, I'm not worth a shit. But as long as it's within 30. But yeah, man, did that. It was good. It was, like I said, I think when I look at that deployment, when everybody hears what SF does and they look at all these different things, I think that really embodied that a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you are going out, you have to be self-sufficient. There's only, there was 8 of us, and we had 10 third ID kids, like 5 infantry and 5 tankers, and like a medic, attached to us, and like an extra intel person to help me out. We also had a CST team with us. But that is and it was just us, like someone would get in firefights, the Germans would come up and help us if they were in the area, but it's going to take people, you're looking at people get on the ground, you're looking at a couple hours to get to you. You know what I mean? So that was awesome. I loved that trip. I loved everything about it. It was basically go do the right thing and let us know how it's going. I'm like, all right, perfect. We can do this.
You're having to develop all of your own intelligence. And I think, yeah, you're right. A lot of people don't realize that. They think like, oh, SF, the CIA must come with a big binder full of intel and just like, here you go, Drew. It doesn't work like that. You guys hit the ground. It sounds like in this case, you had very little in terms of intelligence and situational awareness, and all of that had to be built out.
It did. We had a guy on our team who was who kind of took over that human role, that level 3, right? So the guy who goes out and he builds the networks and his sources and everything. He and I never really got along that well. However, I have immense respect for the guy. He did a phenomenal job, right? Like he was that was his thing that he really got good at, and he's gone on to do better things and better things in that world. And again, we never really got along, but I have an immense amount of respect for him.
It's funny how that works, Drew. And it's because the Fox and the Hunters, they do have a different job. Like the Fox is more of an analyst, whereas the Hunters are talking to people. And I've seen that dynamic before where they don't necessarily get along with each other.
Yeah, and it started before that. You know what I mean? Like when I was just a Bravo and he was an Echo, like we're just very different personalities, right? Like I'm not your average 18 Fox. Like I ended up going to the SIF and I was an assaulter, and that's my mentality, right? Like later on I went over there. I am an assaulter. I'm not a sniper dude. I think that's boring. I don't have the patience for it. Like, I don't like talking to people, like as sources and be like, oh, you have many children. Oh, you are very strong and doing all that bull crap. Like, let's get to the point, dude. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? So, but he was really good at that, and he got to the point where he got us access to some very interesting networks and people that we would follow with ISR, and they would do exactly what he asked them to do and mark places for us. And it actually got us onto a named objective for some of the higher level dudes at JSOC, and we actually got to pass that off. And they were like, "We're going to go hit it." It's like we could just call him and he'll come in. You know what I mean? Like he's one of our sources now. Like I think that's a pretty big deal for a dude like that. Again, he killed it, man. But again, I didn't help the situation. I was probably just a meathead, you know what I'm saying, the whole time. But he was really good at that. So it was cool looking back at it, seeing that dynamic and how we built that out. So if it wasn't for him and then how we took it as a team and the things that we did, like everything works together. It's a big environment and a lot of working pieces. And that when we left, like I can honestly say, when we left Afghanistan after that trip, it was better off for what we did. We were value added to that area, and you could see noticeable differences in the area. Because before, people couldn't come out of their homes. Like there's people getting their heads chopped off and put on pikes, and sticks out in the roads, and we drive by and see them. When we left, there's kids playing outside with their families. And it was like, all right, man, we did something good here. And we had people actually come up to our gate just to give us stuff and be like, hey, thank you. Like, and it wasn't like the typical, it was genuine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was always going to be little kids who are going to throw rocks at your trucks because little kids like to throw rocks at trucks. You know what I mean? But like generally speaking, I think we did a good job. So,
that's cool. Yeah, it sounds like reminiscent of what you hear about those SFOBs in Vietnam. Where they really ingratiated themselves with the local villagers and become a part of that kind of community.
It did, man. We had some very close relationships and alliances with the people there, to the point where if we were with some of our ALP and there was a firefight, they weren't running away. They were staying there with us and they were looking out for us, which I thought was it's like, ooh, that's not everybody's experience. Like they were bought in, they were with us. So that was really good.
And so after this deployment, you're going back to the mothership at Fort Campbell. And is this when it starts coming into your mind? You're thinking you want to make the jump over to the A-15?
Yes, I knew I wanted to. I still did 2 more small deployments before that. I wanted to do something different and go on to try something else. And I always knew A-15, like I just thought that was cool, man. That's very much what appeals to me. But I went to the B team after that. And while I was on the B team, I don't think I spent more than a week actually on the B team. So when I got there, the first thing I did was I deployed to Afghanistan again. And I was the LNO for a General Nagata, was his name.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and I was in Kabul at Integrity over there. So my goal was basically to report back to him what's going on, and then also to my group commander and everything else. But the side mission was I had another job, which was a surveillance-y type job. And it was anyway, I'll kind of leave it at that, but driving around 1 or 2 guys in a truck, man jams, undercover vehicles, and we're setting up locations, right? Places for people to meet and things like that. So I got to do that for a little bit, which was cool because I got to go to England as one of the schools I went to before then. And I went to the CTR course run by former British Special Reconnaissance Regiment. So they're close target reconnaissance. So basically following people, surveillance, mobile in a vehicle and foot mobile, right? Then breaking into buildings and collecting evidence. And that was kind of neat. So there was a little bit of that. I got to apply to that job, with vehicles and everything else. So it was neat, man.
That's super cool.
It was. Right after I left, that's when they attacked the base and McKenna got killed. So that happened I think within weeks after I flew out. And we've been saying the whole time, like, hey, man, security here is not good, dude. But that Integrity is literally over half of that base is rank major or higher. Mm-hmm. So it's generals, colonels, lieutenant colonel. I didn't know there was that many damn colonels in the Army, first of all, and in Afghanistan. And then there's a bunch of majors who are all trying to be colonels, you know what I'm saying? And then there's the foreign guys, right? Like, and they're, the Polish and everybody, Polish are hilarious, by the way. And then those dudes, you know what I'm saying? And then there's like some random enlisted people. And like, I never wore a uniform. I just wore civilian clothes the whole time. And I was told, like, don't tell anybody your rank. Like, whatever you do, don't tell, because they'll never respect you or listen to you. I was like, okay, cool. So like, the only person that knew was like the base commander and a couple of the colonels. Everybody else was like, oh, Drew, how do we address you? And I'm like, Drew's fine, like, so they were like,
you play it off.
Theories.
I got a beard. That's all you need to know.
Say that again. Sorry, man.
You just say I have a beard. That's all you need to know.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But I told them, I'd be like, oh, I'm in the Coast Guard. And they were like, what? Coast Guard? I'm like, yeah, Coast Guard Special Operations. Like, and we got like, there were a couple of people that actually believed it, but it was like, you're such an idiot. No one's going to believe that, so, but it was good, man. And then, so I did that for a little bit, and that was interesting because it's writing reports. But then in my off time, I'm going and doing these kind of things, in a vehicle with maybe 2 other guys, driving around the city. And then, yeah, man, did that. I came home for a few weeks, and then I immediately went, that's when Syria was kicking off.
Yeah.
So I went to Turkey, and I was Task Force Turkey. So, and it was pretty much just me. So from 5th group, there was another guy there before me, but he was it wasn't really his job, but they sent me over because they're like, hey, you just did this for Nagata. Now you're going to do it for our battalion commander and group commander. So you're going to report back in Turkey, and you're going to set up all the training bases in Turkey for our guys. You're going to help understand the people that we're bringing in from Syria. You're going to do this, and you're going to work closely with some agency people and also JSOC. And I was like, okay. So I was at an annex from the embassy, wearing a suit every day, and I worked at the agency office, and that was eye-opening. I briefed a lot of politicians. I briefed colonels, generals, senators, and I had to know what was going on. And I'm really there was a female agency lady there, and I'm very grateful for her. She was very good at her job, and she always helped steer me in the right direction. But I was like, I don't know if I trust you, right? So I gotta go back, and they're like, no, that sounds right. Whereas like other people were trying, she'd be like, hey, you ought to look into that a little bit more. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, she's trying to help you.
She genuinely was. And I really appreciate her. She might have been pulling one over on me the whole time. I don't know. But I feel like it was just with everything going on, I felt like she truly was a team player with everybody and wanted to do the best. And she helped me out a lot.
And so were you mostly just kind of like briefing these visitors coming through on like the situation in Syria at that time? Or was it getting more intense than that?
It was a little bit of both, but mainly what our unit was preparing for. So here are the training sites we've identified. Here's how we're going to bring them in. Here's how many we're going to train at a time. Once that kicks off, you'll see this many ODAs. Here's how we're going with recruitment, everything else, and who we're identifying, and here's how we feel about this, right? So we narrowed down the training sites. We identified equipment. Part of that was coordinating with customs, right, through Turkey, which may be the worst thing you could ever do in your life, because Turkey uses their customs as basically like they hold everything hostage to get what they want from the United States.
Yeah.
So, for example, I'd be sitting in meetings, and again, I don't know why the hell I'm in this meeting, but I was sitting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Interior Affairs, and they're asking me questions and giving me information. I'm like, yeah. In my head, I'm like, I'm gonna have to Google that later. I don't know what the hell that means, but like, I'm gonna put this in a report and say back. But they're trying to get us to sign a treaty, which is what we were absolutely trying not to do. And when I would ask questions, they would actually go out in the hall and they would call Erdogan. Is he the prime minister or president? It depends on what years he is, because he just goes back and forth, right? Because he's a dictator-ish. So like, as he does all that, they'd be calling him. They'd be like, here's what we think. I'm like, did you just call Erdogan? You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing here? I shouldn't be talking to you. I'm an E7, dude. Like, I'm a sergeant first class. But it was really interesting. So I would be I'd have to coordinate with them and also Turkish SOF a little bit. And then a lot of to get back to your question, sorry. A lot of what I would do with the congressmen and women and the senators was we just have to be available for their questions. And I really only had one that showed up ready with questions that genuinely wanted to know what was going on and had a clue. Other than that, I can't say enough negative things about congressmen and women that showed up over there. It was very disheartening. You know what I mean? It was very like, oh, wow. And actually, so an example for you. We're in a meeting. You mind if I tell a story about
Please.
this one dude?
Yeah.
Okay. So we go in and do this briefing, right? And I'll leave some of the names out of it for people and all this. You can probably infer what's going on. So we go in and we're giving our briefs and everything. I do my part. And I'm in there with the commander of a special operations unit. He is there. He flew in just for this. I'm in there with an agency lady. And then his sergeant major that's there also, that's been there with me, right? And he's talking, giving the brief, and he's like outlining the map. Here's what we have. Here's what we need, everything. And I'll never forget this congressman's like, he's like, well, what do you mean you need this and that? And he's like, sir, we got this. And he's like, well, why can't you just see him and shoot him? He's like, because there's clouds, sir. Like they can't see through clouds, you know? And like everything was like talking to a child, you know? And he goes, I need so many ISR birds with this capability, right? And this guy's the head of like that thing in Congress. And I'm just sitting there the whole time, like, and the commander guy's getting mad, veins running out of his neck, right? And he's just like, you can tell he's frustrated. And he's like, well, I don't know what ISR means, but I got some drones. You want some drones? He goes, I got some with missiles on them. You want that? And the guy's like, yes, I would very much like those. Like, he's like, how many you need? You know, like, I'll get you some, son. How many you need? And he's like, for the third time, like 26 of them, because I need to put them here, here, and here. And he's like, can we do that? And some guy's like, yes, Congressman, we can do that. And he's like, all right, I'm going to get them for you, right? Well, then he makes this joke. He got real serious real quick because he made a joke, and he's like, here, we're in this part of Africa. We're partnered with the French, this and that. And he goes, oh, the French, huh? He goes, oh, they're too busy being cowards and running away. I bet they suck. And starts ragging on the French. And this dude like stopped what he was doing, turned around and like slammed his fist on the table and goes, the French are the greatest partner we could ever ask for. They're out actioning targets and killing bad guys. We're waiting for bureaucratic approval. And you just saw this congressman just like melt into his seat. He was a big old fat boy too. And he just melted. Like he couldn't get small enough. He's like, okay, thank you. You know, but like, we walked out of there and this dude like grabs me by the arm, you know, he's a big dude. He like grabs me. I'm like, oh shit, did I do something wrong? And he's like, listen up. That man makes decisions that affect people's lives. And I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything. I'm just like, and he just goes, huh, just walks out. I was like, okay, like, sounds good, man. So, but yeah, like it was very interesting seeing that. And then all the behind the stuff too, then going to the embassy and having to interact with them between Department of State, you know, the Paul Mill officers, the people running USAID, like that was a big issue back then. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously that's popped up in the news. We had a lot of issues with USAID and what was going on. It was obvious they were just shoveling money straight towards, you know, all these terrorist groups in Syria. They were just giving them free money and supplies and everything else. It was crazy. So it was very interesting. I determined politics probably weren't for me. You know what I mean? But,
yeah, man. Yeah. The massive disconnect between the people who are making these decisions and what's going on the ground.
Yeah, they live in a different world. Like they literally live in the high tower looking down on everybody else. You know, like, I mean, you could have stories for days on this stuff, but it's like, that guy's not that's not good. And they're like, well, you need to understand how they feel. I'm like, he just like killed everybody in this village and raped everybody and enslaved a bunch of others. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, he's throwing gays off a roof. Like, and I said, that's not good. And you're telling me I need to think about how this person feels? Like, no, dude. No, I don't. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's pretty cut and dry. So it was fucking crazy. So I get to see behind the curtain a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, the fat man behind the curtain.
Really good people there.
Yeah. And how do you, like, what year was that when you kind of like left Turkey, and kind of like what kind of state did you feel like it was in as you were leaving out of there?
I think that was 2014.
Okay.
It was either 2013 into 14 or 14 into 15.
That makes sense.
Because I spent Christmas over there. Mm-hmm. I think it was 13. Oh, man, I don't know. I'm sorry. It was one of those years. It was Christmas because I remember I flew home for like 3 days for Christmas and flew right back. Right. I almost got arrested coming home too, which was crazy, but it is what it is. I had a bullet in my bag, got it all the way from America through Germany and into Turkey, and somehow there was a green tip 5.56 in my backpack. Don't know where it came from because we weren't shooting guns over there. It was an office job. And like I came back through and they were like ready to arrest me for this round. I was like, oh God, crap, so whatever. But man, it was different. So very different deployment. But after that is when I went to A15. I went to Sephardic, did all that and everything else.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
People aren't familiar. Sephardic is a school. It's considered like a Salter school. It's about 8 or 9 weeks. You spend the first 2 weeks on the flat range shooting. We shoot about 150,000 rounds between 50 guys in 10 days, right? And we'll start with 50. And in my class, we bump down to about 35 by the end of that first 2 weeks. And then after that, you're doing CQB all day, every day, minus Sundays. And if you suck at it, you got to go in on Saturdays, right? It's 12, 14, sometimes 16-hour days just doing assaulter stuff, clearing buildings, vehicle interdictions, rappelling out the side of buildings, air inserts, halves, all that crap. You're just nonstop CQB from hostage rescue to just regular going after a target, whatever it may be. You're working on breaching, you're doing breaching charges, mechanical breaching, you're using quickie saws, you're doing Broco torches. We're going elsewhere to like old rundown prisons and stuff like that. So it's a very, very intensive school. I'd say it's probably the best school in the entire military, right? I don't think you can top it. It's everything the commercials make the military out to be. It's that, you know what I mean? And it's awesome. So to be in the SIF, you have to go to that school and you have to pass. So I went over to the SIF without the school. They let me come over and they said, hey man, we'll get you the course when you get here. So I went the first time and I actually broke my neck. Shit. Yeah. So we're doing combatives and the dude like neck control, this guy who's an idiot. I'll never forget him, this dumbass. He just grabbed my neck. Instead of doing what we all had done, he just dropped to his knees and cranked my neck down. Well, when he did, he cracked or broke 2 of the vertebrae and then herniated 3 of the discs over. So it was pushing on my spinal cord. So when it came time, and that was in the first couple weeks. So when I got to the stress test on the flat range portion on week 2, when I bring the rifle up, I couldn't see my sights because my head wouldn't move from like right here. So they would always joke and like, hey, Batman, because it was like, what? You got to turn like this. I couldn't do anything. So I went home, rehabbed it as best I could. And then I went back a second time and I passed. But after I went back the second time, I was like, man, I'm having some problems. I went back to the doctor and they were like, holy crap, it'd been a year. And they were like, your neck's broken. It's been broken the whole time. Why did you go to Sephardic a second time? I was like, because I wanted to go to the school and pass. You know what I mean? And like, I remember I was at jiu-jitsu that morning rolling and they were like, get in here right now. And so the original MRI clearly showed it was there, but it was a PA. He had asked me, he goes, well, who told you your neck was fine? And I was like, oh, that guy right there, him, that moron. And he was like, oh shit. So I had to get like emergency surgery because they were afraid my arm was going to atrophy because I had really bad, like my left arm wasn't working right. I couldn't really grab things very well. So I went up to Walter Reed and had my neck fused. And then actually I was high as hell and I started Bear Solutions in the thing. So, but yeah, man, it was good. I did a deployment before that and then we figured all that out. So after the fact, but I went the second time I passed and then I did a deployment and then that's when we figured out what happened. So.
Wow. Where did you go with the SIF?
Baghdad.
Okay, cool. And I mean, yeah. Again, didn't they used to call A15 like Baghdad SWAT?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Like back in the day, Task Force Raptor. You remember those days?
Yeah.
When we were in the group, like those guys, they were going out every night hitting 2, 3, 4 buildings. That there's a video on YouTube with like the Team America song.
Yeah,
that's pretty much A15, dude. The miniguns and everything. That's them. But when I was there, it was, we were just mostly doing training stuff. Iraq had died down. Mm-hmm. We tried to get out the door a little bit, not a whole lot happened. Did a lot of training and just kind of hung out and doing standby for the crisis response force. In case anything happened, we got to be wheels up in 3 hours, ready to go to an embassy to evacuate it or whatever. our guys did go to the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad and help and reinforce them when there were the riots and everything going on around it. But really, not a whole lot that trip. It was just really good being with the dudes and seeing how that works, and then just getting really good at what you do. Like, this, man, in fifth group, like, we're not like other people. If you got downtime, you better be in the gym or be training. You know what I mean? Like, you better be improving yourself somehow. And I'd always heard things about A15, like, oh, they think they're cooler, this or that. Like, not really, man. They just, when you have more people to do, like, to schedule the ranges and do everything, you get to set yourself up for success a lot better.
Right.
And you
right.
give yourself more opportunities. And I
And
was
the-
really
and
impressed with the
their-
guys there.
their mission
and
is-
they worked really hard and trained all the time.
Their mission is, like, I don't mean to shortchange it at all, but, like, it is a little bit more focused than an
Oh, very
ODA
much.
that's, like, all over the place.
Yeah, it's very narrow, right? You have the ability to specialize, and I think that's super cool. Like, you specialize in CQB, you know what I mean? Personnel recovery is part of that. Evacuating embassies, but you are assaulters and heavy hitters and hard and fast, you know what I mean? And you're doing hostage rescue and everything else. On a regular ODA, you've got to understand your networks, right? You got to do that. You got to develop all your own intel. And we do that in SIF too, but not to the same. And then you've got to be able to do, maybe onesies and twosies missions and split up. You got to do the normal FID thing. You got to do all this different stuff. Whereas, if there's like 5 pillars to the missions you have, when you're in A15, you're only doing like 1 or 2 of them, and compared to all 5 or 6 or 8 or however many there are, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah. And after that was when they realized how jacked up your neck was. And did you have to be medically retired because of that?
I did. They gave me the opportunity. So at that point, I had quite a few injuries. I've had shoulder reconstruction. I had both my knees done. I've had left ankle reconstruction. I have a broken neck that they fused. And also my L4 and L5 is broken, which I'm not letting them fuse my lower back. Like, the doctor who fused my neck was like, don't do your back, whatever you do, don't let them touch your shit. I was like, okay, cool. I've had a lot of TBIs too, head injuries from combatives. I used to do a lot of combatives, a lot of fighting, here and there and rolling, eating some charges, you know what I mean? Just stuff like that.
It adds up.
But it does, man. And it kind of came time for me. I remember talking to my battalion Sergeant Major Lyles, phenomenal guy. He came down and goes, hey, man, whatever you just, you go, I want, talk to the doctors. He goes, I will do whatever. I will put you wherever you want. I will go out of your way to do everything. But it sounds like your time being a soldier is probably done, And I was like, I think you might be right. I think it's time to do something different. So my option was I could stay on a program called COAD, called Continuing on Active Duty, but I would be non-deployable. And if I stayed in, then I would, go be a SFAS instructor or a SFARTA instructor. But then I might have to go work in SOCOM in Tampa, right? Or some of those things, which is cool. But I actually wanted to go to the Army Marksmanship Unit is really where I wanted to go. And if I can just finish my time at the AMU, because I love shooting, like, that would be awesome. But they wouldn't allow me to come over because I was an E7. They like you to come over younger. So at the time, whoever's running it said no. And I just decided, hey, man, if I'm going to stay in the military, like, I'm not staying in the military if I can't deploy, so I wanted to get out. That's the whole reason I'm in the military. So we decided to get out. And that conversation, I kind of jumped around a little bit. That conversation happened before I got surgery. And then also kind of, whenever. So when I started Bear Solutions, it was the morning after I had my surgery in Walter Reed Hospital. I was laid in the bed and I was making a website on Squarespace. I'm like, and I'm like applying for an FEIN, and I'm like, what is this?
And that's because you're already having to, like, kind of come to terms, like, I'm not going to be a soldier anymore.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Yeah, I don't like knowing. I don't like not knowing what I'm doing, right? I figured I think that's something the military teaches you well. If you just wait, like, the Army will tell you what you're doing and you're probably not going to like it. But if you're proactive about it, you can kind of control where you go and what you do. So I've always wanted to, I always thought it was cool to have a training company, everything else. And I had some good buddies that I knew in the industry and they were like, hey, man, you should do this. You should absolutely start a company and get out and train. I think you do okay. You do well. I was like, all right. So, I remember I was sitting in the bed, just high as hell, dude, just misspelling everything. Danny came in, he was like my escort, and he's like, what are you doing? Because he hadn't even seen me. I think he saw me like when I came out of surgery. And then he was like, okay. And he went and got breakfast and came back. And he's coming in ready to make fun of me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm starting a company." He's like, "No, no, you're not." Like, what are you talking about? So, but yeah, that's Bear Solutions, and that's what I do now. So,
Fentanyl kicking that ass.
oh yeah, dude.
And so tell us about Bear Solutions, what that company is, what it's sort of evolved into, what you're doing with it today.
Yeah, man. So Bear has been great. I've been very fortunate, very blessed. I've had a lot of people in the industry. You say, "Hey, man, you're doing good stuff. Let me help promote you," right? Let me do this. We've grown very well. So one of the things that the number one thing we do is we do training. We do firearms training. We teach you how to shoot, right? We teach you how to shoot fast and accurate, right? It's got to be a balance. Okay, like accuracy without speed is kind of worthless. You know what I mean? So we got to be fast while we do it. And then, so we teach pistol 1, pistol 2, rifle 1, rifle 2. But we also do a lot of courses for law enforcement. We do CQB courses. We've done hostage rescue courses for people. We've done a lot of CQB courses where I keep it just 2-man CQB, especially for those patrol officers. You know what I mean? Getting in and going and knocking it out and doing what they got to do. We do consulting. Man, we've done a lot of people. We trained some really cool people. Got to know some awesome people. But number one, what we do is training. After that, we also make products. We just came out with our first belt, which is a tactical style belt called the Wojtek belt. It's spelled Wojtek, but it's pronounced Wojtek. It's a Polish word. Have you ever heard of Wojtek the Bear, Jack?
No.
World War
yes,
II bear.
he's the one that carried the artillery shells. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Dude, drank beer, killed Nazis. Like, dude, how do you not love that bear? You know what I mean? So we named it after that. So, but yeah, that's our first product. We have some building off of that. We have some others coming out too. We do the YouTube thing and everything else, which brings us to Bear Senna. So Bear Senna is our video production. My business partner with that is Thomas Chi. Phenomenal guy, man. He's been to film school. He does camera work he's been on Netflix. He's worked on Netflix project. He's done music videos. He's done all kinds of stuff, man. He is an incredibly talented guy. So everything that we do with our YouTube goes under Bear Senna. And then our other video production, like we did a short film, right? So Tom has, in Nashville, there's a company called Action Design Services. They are a stunt team and stunt coordinators and fight choreographers in Nashville. And they've done some great work, phenomenal people. One of them is working on, she's incredible. She's like this tiny little former gymnast. She's working on some Netflix shows. She's insane, dude. She's such a badass, right? Jaren's great. They have so many cool people in this stunt team. So we wrote a script and we made a short film highlighting a lot of the stuff they can do, along with like our weapons stuff and everything else and tactics and things like that. So we're almost done with that. We're just getting the special effects done and then we're going to submit it to film festivals. So, yeah.
So it's like an actual like short film with a plot, but it's sort of showing the tactics that you guys teach.
Yes. It's about 18 minutes long.
Cool.
So it does have a plot, right? And we filmed it over about a week at a private school in around the Nashville area, and then also some other locations, right? We actually went into it's a studio and it's got these giant screens behind it. So we could like dolly in the truck for the driving scenes and then mount the camera on the hood. And then we filmed what are called plates. And it's just the video you get, and then they put it up on this big screen behind the vehicle so it looks like he's driving, but we can control all the environmental factors. So that was super cool. We used that. We did, tons of stuff, dude. We makeup artists, for the blood and the gunshot wounds, blanks and gun. Dude, it was sick. So it was super. It was a very big learning experience. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, man, look at all this new stuff that you're learning. Not exactly just a big, dumb 18 Bravo here. Putting some things together.
Trying to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lot of really awesome people around me,
cool.
which is great. That have taught me a ton of stuff. Tom, I feel sometimes I don't know what Tom works with me because sometimes he'll be like, "Oh, he's just like, oh, you idiot," like, think about this, and he's like, explain to me, like, oh, okay, I get it. So it's been really neat, man. And that's worked into some writing, doing some stuff and everything else. But so we do that with Bear Solutions and Bear Senna. Then I have another company called Agonic. And with that, we make concealed carry belts. So we make a flexible kind of, one size fits most concealed carry belt, but it doesn't look super tactical. And then it helps to hide your clips. So that's called a Gonic, and we have that over there.
Super cool. So we'll have some links down in the description for the viewers or listeners. You can go and check out Bear Solutions and some of these products that Drew's talking about. Is there anything else you want to talk about, I don't know, service, military service, or post-service, what you're doing today? Anything that I didn't mention?
Yeah, so I think the thing is that you never know where life's going to take you, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, look where you're at, dude. You're sitting in a big leather chair. You know what I mean? You probably didn't think you'd be sitting in that sucker, when you're
Nah.
in fifth group. You know what I mean? Running a podcast and all the incredible like stories you've done. You're a journalist, man. Like you've done incredible things, right? They're probably not what you were thinking about when you're in the military.
No, not
But
at all.
for me, if you were like, hey, man, someday you're going to be on a movie set, like I was just up in Utah and I'm working on this movie right now. And I got to be in the movie, which was super cool. It was also terrifying because like there's real actors and they're like, oh, you're so-and-so's buddy, aren't you? I'm like, oh, God, I know what that means. You're not expected. So I was like rehearsing and practicing. And I was with this guy, Jeff. And Jeff is, he does a lot of the casting for Clint Eastwood's movies. And his name's phenomenal guy, right? And so we do these video calls where he's like coaching me. I'm like, okay. And he's like, that's not bad. I'm like, just say it sucked, Jeff. Just tell me it sucks, And so, but, it went well. They told me I did a good job. I was like, oh, thank God,
great. Yeah.
So I'm actually in it doing that. I'm not trying to be a big action, movie star by any means, but it was a neat experience.
I
But yeah,
recently
you can consult there too.
I tech advised on a film over the summer, and just because they needed a body essentially to do it, I ended up having like a very small role, microscopic role. But I have one line where I tell someone to shut the fuck up or I'll blow their head off. This is a Vietnam
Nice.
War, documentary film. So there's not a lot of acting, like to be like the disgruntled army guy chewing out a subordinate. Like there isn't a whole lot of acting that I felt like, I wasn't outside my comfort zone with that.
It was kind of the same in this thing. It was, they were like, hey, you're going to play Kenny the gun store guy. And I was like,
Okay.
I can do that. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Yeah, you typecast me for that, so, but I got to call somebody a stupid, stupid moron or something, dumb motherfucker or something like that. I was like, oh, cool, I can pull this off.
You get to
Yeah, so
have
just be me.
your mug of coffee and be like, well, actually, if you knew anything about 45 ACP, you'd know.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Red shirt. Just be like, slow down and get your hits, but oh man. Yeah, it was fun, dude.
That's
it was really
cool.
cool. It's,
Yeah.
The funny thing about these, I'm sure you saw it too. Like, I was just kind of blown away, like being on set, like all the moving pieces. It's like a large military operation.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was like everybody has their roles and doing this.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, that's S4. That's S3, like that's S2, there's this, like they all have their pieces and they're all working together. And you have these guys at the top that are just making sure everything's doing what they need to do. And it's very interesting. I was like, this is just like a military operation.
Yeah. And it
So-
requires, the other commonality is like it requires everyone doing their job. Like everything has to line up to get that shot.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's a lot, and it's a lot of people and a lot of technology working together to get that like one moment. And I found that, it's very similar to what you experience in the military.
It is. It's kind of like that, but just add an HR element and then you have a movie. You know what I mean? Like you can't, what do you mean I can't call that person retarded? And they're like, you can't talk like that. That's mean. And you're like, oh, okay. Oh, well, I still think they're retarded.
The
And they're like,
unions
"No."
are a different thing. We don't have that in the military either. I think we have a question for you, Drew,
Sure.
from our Patreon folks.
Yep, this is Dan Bash. Ask him who his second favorite Border Patrol firearms instructor is from the Casa Grande station.
That's a very specific question.
Very.
Dan, it's probably Derling because I know who my number one is. So, dude, Derling's my boy, dude. He's hey, dude, those guys down there at Casa Grande, Dan, Derling, all those guys, phenomenal dudes. I've gotten to know a lot of Border Patrol guys. I really, really, really enjoy the Border Patrol guys. Like, they are hilarious. So they're really good dudes. Very professional. They do a really good job. So.
Drew, anything else before we get going? Anything that I failed to ask you?
I don't think so. I kind of just started going with it, so I hope
That's
I gave
fine.
you what you
No,
were
that's
looking
great.
for. So, nah, man. Other than that, dude, yeah, I'm just kind of a husband and a dad first, and I try and do all this other stuff. I got a daughter, and one thing you may not know, if anybody's listening, if you ever go to dance competitions, you might see me there, okay? Because my daughter's in dance, and I'm a dance dad. So I
Whoa.
will say hi if you're ever there. So,
That
which
is
is
awesome.
awkward as shit for a guy like me, but I love it. So
That's awesome, man. Well, Drew, thank you for doing this, man, taking some time out of your day. Really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone who joined us tonight for the show. And we'll see all of you next time. And make sure you check out Bear Solutions. Again, there'll be links down in the description for you guys.
awesome. Thank you very much, Jack. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, I want to tell all of you today about a new newsletter that we're launching that encompasses both the Team House podcast, the Eyes On podcast, and the High Side news outlet, which I run with Sean Naylor. The newsletter is going to be once a week. It's going to come into your inbox, and you're going to get the most current podcasts on Eyes On and the Team House and whatever's topical or current on the high side. So it's another way for us to get the information out to you, as social media algorithms are pretty iffy and you never really know what you're going to get. So this is a once a week email. It'll slide into your inbox and it will have, the greatest hits of that week.
It's really good, man. I'm checking it out.
The website for it is teamhousepodcast.kit.com/join. teamhousepodcast.kit.com/join. You go there and you enter into your email list, or you enter your email into the little thing on the website, and you're good to go. And that'll be it. So we really appreciate your support and hope you'll consider signing up.
Where's the link?
The link will also be down in the description if you're looking for it there.
And that's teamhousepodcast.kit, KIT, Kilo India Tango.com /join.